Hello, and welcome to Apple Consulting's Central Reach Learn training module. In this training module, in this first lesson, we will learn about how to create templates from existing templates that you want to change just slightly. For example, I noticed that in my template library, we have emotion ID, receptive, and expressive, but we don't have one that's receptive. What's really important to note is that we use emotion ID receptive quite a bit, not just receptive and expressive. And so when we have to go in and make one for our client, we want to make a template first. It's really important in continuing our library of templates. So I need to make a emotion ID receptive, and this is how it works. So you navigate to the Learn area of Central Reach. Go to Library and Purchased Items. And what you're going to want to do is click the Add New button at the upper right-hand corner. And I'm going to write the program Emotion ID Receptive. And the type, I'm going to make a private learning tree template. And then I'm going to click on Create Learning Tree. The first thing that's going to pop up is a Sharing and Access pop-up area. And you're going to want to make sure that you're going to share with the appropriate people. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to share with leadership. So start typing leadership until the leadership contact label comes up. And then click the Share button to the right. And then for each of the leadership that comes up, there's going to be an option to the right of their name that says Read Only or Can Edit. All of the leadership should be able to edit. Make sure that you click Can Edit next to their name. Then you're going to click on BCBA, start typing BCBA until that contact label comes up, and you're going to click Share. And at this point in time, it's okay for everyone to have read-only access because we're working on a template. The other one label that you want to bring up is Program Manager. So click on that when it pops up and click the Share button. The other thing that's really important is to click on the Settings option next to Sharing and Access. You want to work on fixing the license setting apply to how we work on our particular templates. So for example, right now we have single use read only. That would mean that one BCBA could come in and use it and not edit it. And then it wouldn't be usable again. So we want to click on multi-use editable at the bottom. And make sure that that's multi-use editable, not read-only. And that allows us to use it multiple times and edit it multiple times. And then you want to click Save Settings. And then what you want to do is click Close. And then the first thing you want to do with any program template is make it active. So you can click on the Make Active button, or you can click on the draft, and make it active as well. So what I'm going to do is I want to add my first branch to my template. And by the way, if you ever forget that you maybe say that you, in your settings and sharing and access, you forget to put in multi-use editable, or you forget to put in a person's name or contact label's name, you can always click the Settings kind of flower here button and click Learning Tree Options, and that pops up the Sharing and Access and Settings area. So just wanted to give a little tangent there to make sure you knew how to get back to that area. So what I'm going to do here, back to adding the template, is add your first branch. And so I'm going to go to the library, because what I want to do is I don't want to collect something from scratch. But I do want to collect something from maybe use Emotion ID Receptive and Expressive as my template to use to create my new template. So I look here and I clicked on emotion to try to find the emotion ID receptive and expressive. And you can see that there are a lot of different emotion ID programs. You're going to want to scroll until you find exactly what you're looking for. And I think I might have missed it. It is in alphabetical order. So we have emotion ID receptive and expressive. So what you're going to want to do is you're always going to want to find the one with the arrow. And then you want to click down and then find the one that has the file. And that's the one that you're going to want to use. This one has a short-term goal. You don't want to use that. This one has the targets. You don't want to use that. You want to click on the one that has the file button first. And then click down and click on the file button. If it were in a program notebook, you would just click on the short-term goal, but here you're going to want to click on the file button and then click Add Selected. Then you're going to refresh your site. And then what it will do is populate the program Emotion ID receptive and expressive. So what I'm going to do here is simply edit the template. So right now I want it to be Emotion ID receptive. So I'm going to change the title by double clicking on the title. And I'm just going to click Add in receptive. Same thing with the short-term goal. I'm going to double click on the title and change to receptive. And remember, in your short-term goal area is where you can edit your instructional note and your goal description. So you move over to the edit pencil to the right, and your branch description will pop up. And right now it shows receptive and expressive as the description, and we want to make it only receptive. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove all the information just by clicking on it. This is the expressive portion, and then include only the receptive portion. And that would change this goal to be appropriate for a receptive emotion ID in pictures. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to my instructional notes, and I'm going to make any changes that I need to in the instructional notes. So the SD, I want to take out expressive, and so on and so forth with response, consequence, etc. And when you're finished, remember to click Done Editing. And then you're going to move forward with making any changes that you wish to the title of the program, and again, the target, and I'm going to put in Emotion ID receptive. And you can edit any of them as you want going forward, including the mastery criteria, as long as you change the mastery criteria up here, the 80% across 2 sessions, make sure that it matches in your target. So I'm going to look in here, make sure it's the default of 80% times 2 sessions for intervention and generalization, 80% times 1 session for baseline criteria, and it is. If not, I can make the changes, and that's in another module lesson that you can look up in order to change criteria and prompting settings. The final thing that you want to make sure of and check is whether the domain is correct. So in finding the domain of the particular template, what you're going to do is you're going to click on the target here over to the right that says View Goal. And you're going to look here, and here it says Executive Functioning. And so what we probably want to do is change it to language, which would make more sense. and you click on the language button, and then you click update. Unfortunately, it does not, if you click update all, it does not change all the domains in the targets. You're going to have to go into each of the targets and change the domain, but it's worth it in the long run. What you're going to want to do is typically you're going to want to pick, if you're creating a new template from an old template, you're going to want to click on a template that's in the same domain as you would want it, so that you don't have to make those changes that they're already made for you. Same with mastery criteria. Now you're going to see how to create a new template from quote-unquote scratch. This first example is going to be one that we use if we're taking a template from our cloud of documents that has not been set up in Ignite. So I'm going to run through the first part of the process pretty quickly, as we just went through this in the last video. You're in the library and purchased items area. You click the Add New button. And I don't have oral motor imitation, so I'm going to type in oral motor imitation. And again, we want a private learning tree template. And we want to make sure that we share with leadership and that they can edit. So Angela Wells, Christopher Jones, Steve Mikalski at this time, they all can edit. BCBA needs to have access to this template. And Program Manager. Then you're going to go to Settings. Multi-use editable is what we want for the license, which is really important as described earlier. And then you're going to want to save the settings. Again, if you ever need to go back to it, if you make a mistake, you can always click on this flower icon, the setting icon, and go to Learning Tree Options and view your sharing and access, as well as settings. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start from scratch. I'm going to make it active. And I'm going to split my screen. For those of you that have PCs, it's really easy to split your screen. And I have my imitation oral motor here to the side. That's our written document program. And what I'm going to want to do is sort of port it into the electronic format. So I'm going to click Add Your First Branch. And the first branch is always a resource, which is just a placeholder file. And you want to put in imitation oral motor, and then just save as draft. And you always want to make them active, so afterwards you make it active. And then I want to add my long-term goal. And again, remember on templates we have long-term goals and short-term goals only. So I'm going to click on my file area to the left that I just made. And I'm going to click on the right, add a branch. And this time I'm going to make it a long-term goal, and I'm going to make it a cumulative branch. And I'm going to call it imitation. Again, oral motor. I'm going to copy that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I have the goal details in here. In the goal details, we want to make sure that we are addressing the discipline, which is applied behavior analysis, that we're implementing the domain, which in this case is imitation. We also need to identify a record type, and it's always medical record. This is a part of a client's medical record. Responsibility is the service provider most of the time. And then we're going to not initiate the goal status as active. We're going to leave it not active. Save it as draft. Make that active. And then what we're going to want to remember to do is in this area, This is where we provide the instructional note, and we add in the instructional note from where we want to port it in from our file. So now that we can see our template from Central Reach to the left and our oral motor file from the document version template, we're able to go ahead and port it in and copy and paste it. So you're going to want to click on the edit button. And then the first thing you're going to want to do is fill in the branch description, which really is the goal. This is what's going to be imported into your treatment plan. So you want to make sure that not only has the target skill response, which we can Control-C, copy, Control-V, paste, and we want to make sure that it is not bolded. So we're going to unbold that because that's the way we want it to look in our treatment plan. And then we're going to want to take a look at what the mastery criteria are and also put that into our goal. So I'm going to write with 90% accuracy across 2 sessions. And there we have our branch description populated. The next thing we're going to do is the instructional notes template. So what we're going to do is we're going to click Select Template, navigate to Program Template, click Continue, and then you'll see the instructional note is there for us to populate with our data and information from our document version of the template. So the materials say NA, so that's what I'll put in there, NA. And then the SD is engaging in action, etc. Then I copy and paste that into there. And I'll do that for each corresponding subsequent area. So the response, invitation of action which within 3 seconds, that goes into the response area, etc. You'll see there's a little bit of a difference in the prompt area, the prompt topography. You'll actually click on which ones you're using. So I clicked on physical and vocal. And then the same with teaching procedures. We have antecedent prompt here and constant time delay, I believe. And your teaching notes would go in the same place, antecedent prompt where it says teaching, copy and paste. And then so on and so forth with your generalization strategies, multiple varied SDs, multiple trainers, training loosely, data collection, probe. And then here I have our set targets. So one of the things that we're going to want to do always is for set ideas to put the set ideas that we have into our Central Reach Learn program. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight the first column that has the sets. I'm going to copy and I'm going to paste them into the set ideas area. You see here. And then I'm going to click Done Editing. And that's when you have finished your instructional note and your goal description. The other portion that you need to add is you still need to add the data collection branches. So I'm going to click on Add a Branch. And this is a data collection branch. And then we're going to say imitation oral motor. Again. But then we're going to click on or write which set, set 1. Then we're going to go into the goal details and make sure we have the domain, which is imitation, responsibility, which is service provider, and we're not going to initiate the goal, we're going to leave it not active. And then we're going to go down to the data collection details. So that's really important to note too. The data type is always score, because we're always running the score. Session type NET. Moving down to the graph values, that's an important place to enter the minimum value, which is 0, and the maximum value, which is 100. So that'll give us a graph from 0 to 100 because our score is usually percentage. Then we want to move down to criteria and prompting strategies. And if we recall, it's 90% times 2 sessions. That is the mastery criteria for this program. So I'm going to look into importing a template. And we do have a 90% times 2 session probe template. And I would click on that. And that automatically populates the information that you want. Now, of course, you're in your first set and we're going to make more sets. And this particular program has 4 sets. So if we decide that we don't want generalization, we don't want maintenance, we can pull those out and delete them if we want to. Because this is the first set, and then all subsequent sets will be copied, bulk copied, and you'll have the same information in there. So sometimes you want to wait until maybe the last set and then do the generalization and maintenance. It's really up to you how you want to do it. But this is how it's set up generally. And then you want to click Save as Draft. And you want to make active. And like I said before, we're going to want to go over to these vertical dots and bulk copy branch. And you notice there are 4 sets. But I'm actually going to do 3 because I'm just adding 3 sets. All right, and then I'm going to refresh my screen. And you'll see that there are multiple sets. And if you look in the actual set data, you'll notice that everything is set up the same way. Score 0 to 100, criteria and prompting strategies are the same. And if you want to take a look at the goal, the view of the goal, you'll see that the domain is also the same and the responsibility is the same. That's all been copied, which is great. Then what we want to remember to do is change the set numbers. And what I also could do if I wanted to is if I decide that most people actually use these sets, open mouth, stick out tongue, I can actually populate the sets with open mouth, stick out tongue to make it easier for others. Or you can just leave it in the set ideas area. And then what you're going to have to remember to do always is that in each template you're going to want to create a combined graph. So let's just change our set so it looks really nice. Set 3, set 4. There we go. And then I'm going to go back up to my long-term goal because I want to add another short-term goal, but this time I want to add a combined graph. I'm going to click Add a Branch, Data Collection, and then I'm going to put imitation, oral motor, combined. I'm going to choose a goal domain, imitation, responsibility, service provider. And data collection type, I'm going to put combined graphs. Click Save as Draft. Done editing. And then you're going to want to make that active. And there we have our completed oral motor imitation template from scratch or from the document templates. The other thing that you can do is you can do the same method and create your own data and information in the instructional note when it's not from a document template that Apple already has, which is a great thing to do to add to our library of templates.